Hi everyone, welcome back for session 9. So today we're going to talk about the cost of diabetes. So I'm going to break it down into some different sections, and we're going to start with food, mostly because everybody eats food. But I wanted to share with you this story about where this whole video series started, and it was about food. So he'd gotten home from work one day and was really, really frustrated because a patient had said to me that they couldn't afford really healthy food because the cost of medications was so high. And so I'm going to show you the slide with the information that I shared with this patient. But what I was really frustrated about was that I had no way to share this information with more than just a few certain people. So my husband said, well, why don't you do a podcast or something? So here we are. That's literally how this got started. So again, we're going to put this slide up. So the thing I love about this slide, so it's a whole week's worth of menus. It's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack for Monday through Friday. All of the food items were purchased at a dollar store, and this whole menu was put together by a registered dietitian for people with diabetes. So, who would have thought that you could find healthy food for managing diabetes at the dollar store? Because, how many times do you hear, oh, well, you shouldn't eat too much processed foods? And ideally, that's true, and that you need to eat a lot of fresh vegetables and fresh fruits. But we all know, and especially right now, the way inflation is at the moment, how very expensive that can be. So this it's a really nice option for some other things to help supplement in between, or if you even need to do a whole week's worth. But the other thing that it points out too is you can use frozen vegetables, you can use frozen fruit. Those are just as healthy as fresh. They're not going to spoil. They certainly cost less. Canned foods, you can do some canned fruits and vegetables too. You just want to be cautious about those. Make sure that you get the low sodium or the no sodium ones because you don't want too much salt in there. And if you're going to do canned fruits, get them in the natural juice and not like the sweetened juice and stuff. But there's a good way right there to help save some money when you're trying to manage your diabetes. So the next part is medications. And this is one of the biggest costs for people with diabetes, especially some of the newer medications. They're super great. They do a lot, but when new medications come out, they do tend to cost more for a few years than medications that have been around for a while. One of the most important things I want you to take away from this is if your healthcare provider has prescribed a medication for you and you get to the pharmacy and it's just too expensive, that's fine. Don't pick it up, but make sure you call and let your healthcare provider know. Call and tell them. Don't just not take that medication because there's ways around that. So depending on what kind of insurance you have, if you have a commercial insurance through your employer, or if you have Medicare or a managed Medicare plan, there's going to be some different options. So a lot of the pharmaceutical companies right on their websites will offer savings cards or coupon cards. Almost all of them have a patient assistance program that you can apply for to see if you qualify for additional assistance in covering the cost of your medications. And even if none of those work, there's still always options. There's the generic medications that we've been using for a lot of years. They may not do as many things as some of the newer medications that we would really like to have you on, but if you can't afford it, it doesn't matter if we prescribe it or not. What's the important thing is that we get your A1C down, because it's scientifically proved that for every 1 point you reduce your A1C, so if you go from an A1C of 8 to an A1C of 7, you have significantly reduced your risk of stroke, heart failure, diabetes eye disease, and amputations. So whatever medication therapy we have to use to help you get that A1C down is really the important thing. So talk to your healthcare provider about costs if that's an issue. The last part, and there's going to be some slides about this, so monitoring your blood sugar. So we've got glucometers where you're doing finger sticks. There's continuous glucose monitors, a whole bunch of different varieties and brands for both of those options. Either way, whatever you're using, you've got to have the equipment. You've got to have test strips. You've got to have lancets if it's a continuous glucose monitor. There's transmitters, there's sensors. There's always equipment and supplies that need to be replaced. And depending on your insurance coverage, this can be costly. But again, it's very important to be able to have that data about what your blood sugars are doing, because that's how you're going to use, that's what you're going to use that for, is to manage yourself day to day. Again, another good thing to do, go to the website. So whatever brand of glucose meter you have, go to their website. Look for those coupons, look for special savings, look for free trials. A lot of them will do that. Same thing with the continuous glucose monitors. You can get oftentimes like a 2-week free trial for a sensor. So whatever you can do to help supplement your supplies is a really good thing. So it seems like we are running down on time for today, but next week, next time around, I think you're really going to want to see this one, because we're going to talk about online resources. So in the meantime, take care, and I'll see you soon.